This will finish our practical 5. I've gone through and put in all of my reinforcement, all of my beams and columns. I haven't put anything into these core walls. They will be precast. We're not going to dive into that. And I've just put in the mesh in every slab. So this will finish it. What I want to do is see everyone's reinforcement and see how you've put them in, making sure there's no clashes. So if you get to this point, this will finish off your model. For those that want to continue on with concrete, I'm just going to show you a couple of extra things because this is going to be our final concrete session. Now, before you submit to me your practicals 4 and 5, just zoom into any of the columns and select, we're going to select both of these, right click, select all, an entire project, just untick these view unobscured, and same thing here, select them all, and untick these. Alright, so what I want to see is I want to see your model like this. Okay, I'll come in and have a look and find the steel after, but this is how I want to see your model. Now, what I'm going to do is show you how to put in this set down. So I'm going to come to my basement. Now I don't have any steel here. I'm talking about the fabric, so the mesh. So fabric area, pick the shape. So if I pick my boundary marks, so which is the outside of my slab, SL82, apply. So this is how we usually put in our mesh. Now if I come to this section here, alright, I have no mesh sitting down here. Okay. Now there needs to be some layer of reinforcement underneath this cut. So it needs to be 30 millimeters below. So I'll draw it with a detail line. So 30. So along this line here, I'll just do this one. Along this line here, I need to have another layer of fabric sitting here. So that's what I'm going to put in now. I'll come back to my basement and I'll just delete this section I've just made. So I'll come through that again. So structure, fabric area, pick the slab, picking the lines, and now I'm also going to pick the lines of my void or my set down. Make sure it's a closed shape. Click the tick. So now I have mesh everywhere except for, you can see it's cutting around where this is. Alright, now same thing, fabric area, pick lines, now it's this inside line here. So this is where I'm going to put my mesh. Click the tick. So fabric area sketch is completely outside of its host. Okay. So now let's come into this section, and this is what I can see. So it's sitting in line with the other one, but this is the top of the concrete, which means my steel is sitting above the layer of concrete. So I need to move it down. Okay, so it's in the wrong spot. What I need to do is if I select my shape, I can't alter anything in here, but if I grab my fabric area, which is this crisscross, I have this additional cover here. So my additional cover, remember I've set this down 30 millimeters. So my additional cover is going to be 30. Apply. If I come back to the section, now I've set this mesh down to where it needs to be. Okay, so that's how we deal with set downs and lowering our mesh. Secondly, I can close this now. Usually on large concrete structures, so probably the most common one would be a car park. We don't have the mesh as our only steel in our slabs. As you are learning in your structural analysis, these are two-way slabs. So we have usually N12s, N16s in one direction and then in the other direction, so in X and Y. For simplicity, we've taken mesh, but what we can do is if I come here, I have a slab sitting, we can put in these, say, N12s at 200 centers in both directions. Usually I use Bondek sheeting, so when you walk into a car park, you will see kind of like a steel profile as the bottom face, and that acts as the formwork and the reinforcement in one direction as well. So if you've got time, Google Bondek and have a look. To put these N12s in, we're looking at S-shaped bars, say N12s, just changing the rebar set, maximum spacing of 200 centers. Okay, now I need to be able to pick in here, so I'll put one of them in this way, so that green dashed line is the cover. Then I'll change my placement again, make this fine so you can see them a bit better. And then I'll put, so obviously this profile is running in the other direction to here. Escape twice, select this rebar, these bars running in my X direction, these running in the Y. These ones will sit on top, so move, it's the same thickness to there. So if I select all of these, just so I can show you in a 3D, what you can see is I have put my reinforcement in both directions. Alright, so this is what we're looking at here. It's just this slab. Okay, we have rebar in both planes. So that's how you would model your two-way slabs. I wonder if I can make it realistic. It's a bit better, kind of. Okay. Next, the last thing I want to add into your concrete is making a schedule. So right click, new schedule, and I'm looking for a structural rebar schedule. I go okay. Now these ones here can be a bit tricky, but I'll give you what we're going to use. So I'm going to take type. We can take quantity. I might give that a miss for now. We can bring it across if we need to. Firstly, I'll bring in a mark. Secondly, I'll bring in a mark, just like we did before. So I can type in next to it. Or the other one we can bring in is a host mark. It's up to you. This will just give you a number. This will give you something you can type in. So if I take a host mark, I might bring quantity across as well. Now, the next things we're going to take is A, B, C, and D. A, B, C, and D, as we were typing in for our cages, so our ligatures or our fitments, we were altering some of these. So for for these rods, or these longitudinal reinforcement, the A was the length, whereas for our ligatures, A was from the top of the ligature to the bottom. And I'm going to take across something that we wouldn't have seen before, is an image. I'll explain what's going on here in a second. So I'll go OK. Now, this, in our big project, we have a very long list of different rebar. For this project I'm using here, it's slightly different. But what I can show you is this host mark. I'll just grab from here. So if I select these ones, I have a schedule mark. Okay. These are the letters that I was talking about. And I can also change marks in here, and we can come through and unlock this host mark after. But it might be easy just to change this to a schedule mark. So let's do that first. Let's come back into my schedule fields. I'll get rid of host mark and I'll find a schedule mark. Bring that across. I want to move that up, so it sits second. Okay. So these are numbers that have come in. Oh, go away. So these ones here, schedule mark 2. Okay, I can change it to whatever, 3. Alright, and it will reflect here. Now image. Sorry, A, B, C, D. So this obviously is my fitments. These are some N20 bars. This looks like a cogged bar. Alright, so like a L-shaped bar where we're connecting a column to a beam or the beam to beam for a corner detail. And then these here, obviously the N12s I just put in before. So image. Click these 3 dots. Now you have to download or save some images. You can just Google them, you can find them from the Autodesk website. But I'm going to add, I have a cogged bar image. So this one. I have a ligature image, which is this one. So A, B, C, D. And I have an S bar, or just my longitudinal reinforcement. Go OK. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. Now, my first one, this one here, is obviously my ligatures. Go OK. This one here, so my next 4 are going to be these. Alright. These are all straight bars. This one as well. This one here is obviously a corner bar or an L-shaped bar or a cogged bar. So this one. Then these ones here are obviously these N12s from before to here. Now I know this looks pretty unimpressive for now. I can change this, so rebar schedule, obviously we can go through, edit everything else in here like we did earlier. But for now, we can leave it. I'll just bring it to a new sheet. I think I've got one in here. Yep. So my rebar schedule, I drag it across. I can tidy it up, probably a bit better than that. But now what we've got is my N10, my schedule mark, how many I have, the ligature sizing. So A is from the top to the bottom, B is the width, here to here, C is here, and D. Alright, so it's depending on how I've put in these ligatures or how I've specified them. N20s, so bottom reinforcement, which is this shape here. So this image is a bit small, so what I would have to do is just make the image bigger when I save it, so it comes in here a bit bigger. And then obviously my Corner bars, I have N20s, I have 3 of them. So my schedule mark, this is A. Okay, so my length A is 790 and B is 600. Okay, so that's just how we can do our rebar schedule. Just something for those of you that want to go a bit further with concrete. Additionally to that, I've put together a general notes for concrete. So please just take a look at this, read through it if you're interested in it. But this is a set of general notes that you could put on your front page for a concrete structure in future practice. So you can write all these out, read them through, type them out and keep them. Quite often we'll move general notes from project to project, so just something to keep in mind. Okay, so thanks guys, and I shall see you all in class.